Hello fam, and welcome back to the channel. This is Precious Styling. To all my returning subscribers, thank you for always stopping by, and to my new viewers, you are welcome to the family. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to draft and cut a funnel corset the easy way. This video would be simplified and very easy to understand. Without delay, let's get creative. So first things first, I rolled my starting line as you can see here, and this also represents my shoulder line, and from there I'll begin taking all my vertical measurements. Placing my tape at the starting line, I went down to take my shoulder to chest measurement of 9 inches. I marked that there. From the shoulder, I went down to take my shoulder to bust measurement of 11 inches. I also marked that there. Still from the shoulder, I went down to take my under bust measurement, and I rolled the line there as you can see. And from the shoulder, I measured down 16 inches to mark my waist. From the shoulder, I went ahead to mark the hem of the blouse at 23 inches. Now, this is because I have a long trunk. If you are quite shorter, you can make your blouse about 20 or 21 inches so that the corset does not really press on your lower region, okay, so you can be comfortable sitting in it. So now I'll proceed to take my neck width at 3 inches and neck depth at 3 inches as well, and I'll connect these 2 points together using a curve. I'll be marking my shoulder span. My shoulder span is 14 inches. 14 inches divided by 2 is 7 inches. I'm just going to mark that there. And from that point, I'll be going down by 1 inch to create the shoulder slope. So from there, we'll be calculating our armhole depth, and you already know how we do this on this channel. Divide your bust circumference by 6 and then add 1.5. When I calculate mine, it amounts to 8 inches, which falls at the chest line, so that is fine. I will just be rolling a straight line from the slope to the chest, which also doubles as our armhole line. On the line we just ruled, we are going to get the midpoint, and at that midpoint we are going to come in by 0.5 inch, and we'll be connecting the end of the slope to the place we came in by. And at the chest line, we are going to be measuring our bust circumference divided by 4. We'll just mark the value on the chest line there, and we'll be connecting that slant line we just ruled now to this point with the help of our curve. At this bust line here, we'll be taking our bust span measurement, or rather nipple to nipple measurement. So my nipple to nipple measurement is 9 inches. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. I'm going to mark that there. And I'll also be marking same measurement of 4.5 inches on the waistline as well. From the point we marked at the waistline, we're going to be coming down by 5 inches because we want to create a dot at the area below the waist. Would mark that value and would rule a line that cuts across the bust line, waistline, and the 5-inch mark below the waistline. At the under bust line here, I'm going to be taking my under bust dot. So the dot I'll be giving to that area will be 2.5, but I'm going to share this 2.5 inches to both sides, okay? So I'm going to get the midpoint of 2.5. That should be around 1.25 inches. And I'm going to be marking 1.25 inches both inside and outside the dot line. This will help us tighten the under bust. As it is, I will mark the same thing I marked at the under bust on the waistline, the same 1.25 inches on both sides of the dart line. Remember, if you're not so busty, you can use 2 inches dart, okay? You just split it into 2 and give 1 inch to both sides of the dart line. Now, I would rule lines connecting the points I marked at the under bust line and the waistline to each other. I'll be connecting the waist dart to the bottom of the dart line with a ruler. And also, I would be connecting the under bust dart to the peak of the dart line this way with the help of a curve. So you don't need to make this too curvy, just give it a little curve and just blend everything in. So we're going to be determining the depth of our bustier. For me, I do not want the bustier to really show my cleavage. So I want the neckline of the bustier to just go down by 7.5 inches. So from the starting line, neckline, I'm going to measure downwards. I'm going to mark 7.5 inches there. I would mark that on the other part of the armhole, and I'll be rolling both points together. I'll be connecting both points together by rolling a line, and this would be the depth of our new neckline. We're going to get the middle of the shoulder, so I'll just be dividing that line into two. I would mark it there, and I'm going to be connecting it to the peak of the nipple to nipple line at the bust line. Right now we'll be tightening the new neckline, and we'll be doing this by giving a dart on both sides of the line. I'm just going to be giving 0.5 inch to both sides of the line, and I'll be connecting it to the bust line. From here we'll be shaping up our new neckline. I want this to have a sweetheart neckline, so I'll be maintaining the chest line. I'm just going to be making a curve from the chest line up to the new neckline, okay? And now we'll be replacing the dart we took at the new neckline to the armhole so that there would be no shortage at the end of the day. So the dart measures up to 1 inch. So I'm going to measure 1 inch at the side of the armhole. I'm just going to mark that there, and I'm going to be creating a new armhole curve. This would prevent the bustier to be short at the top. So I'll just extend the line, and I'm going to be using my curve to create a new armhole curve. So at the chest line there, you see that little dart there. I'm going to replace that. So I just measured that, and I'm going to replace what I measured to the side of the armhole so that there would be no shortage. So from that point I marked, I'm also going to be adding 2 inches allowance to that. Now this does not really need allowance, but I always like to add allowance to my outfits because I may add up in the future, or I may want to make certain alterations to it. So I'll just add 2 inches allowance to that. Now at the waistline, I'm going to be dividing my waist circumference by 4. I would mark that. I would also replace the darts we took at the waistline so there will be no shortage. I'm also going to add that, and finally I'll be adding my 2 inches allowance. So at the hem of the blouse, I'm going to be dividing my hip circumference by 4, and I'll mark that there, and I would also mark 2 inches allowance as I added for the others. And now we'll be connecting all the points together with a ruler this way. Right now we'll be accounting for the unequal shoulder to waist measurement of the front body. So the difference between my front and back shoulder to waist measurement is 2 inches. So I'm going to mark 2 inches from the bust line, and I'm going to be using a ruler to connect that to the nipple to nipple line, and subsequently we'll be closing up the darts. At the side of the hem of the blouse, I want to give that part a curve, so I'm going to be going up by the side of the hemline by 1.5 inches, and I'm going to be connecting that to the nipple to nipple area at the base of the blouse. Now that it's done, I just want to curve in the sharp angle at the armhole of the bustier. So I'm just going to use this curve to blend that area. And now we'll be seeking for ways by which would close up the bust dart. So I'm going to be slashing through the top part of the shoulder, and I'm going to stop at the bust line. Then I'm going to move over to the bust dart. I would slash open one of the legs of the dart. Just ensure you do not sever the entire pattern from each other. So now I'm going to drag the top dart leg over the lower dart leg, and I'm just going to arrange everything so that it is well placed, and I'm going to use my sellotape to hold it in place, and I'll just cut out the remaining excess pattern paper. So if you look at the place where the bust dart used to be, you would see that there's a bit of shortage there. So I'm just going to use my curved ruler to blend out that area. So I'm going to be snatching the waistline of this corset, and I want to take out about 2 inches from my waistline. So I'm going to be taking out 2 inches from the front waistline and 2 inches from the back waistline. So for the front part, I'm going to roll a line. There's no special way of doing this. Just roll a line any way you want it. It could be slant, it could be straight, or anyhow. So I'm just going to be rolling a slant line, and at the waistline I'm going to be coming out on both parts of this line now by 0.25 inch, and I'm going to be connecting it to the top
line and the bottom line to create the snatched effect. So now we're going to decide how we want the funnel looking area to look like. So I'm going to go below the bust line by 0.5 inch, and I'm going to be connecting it to somewhere around the armhole there, as you can see. So I'm going to make a curve that would run from the armhole area through the nipple to nipple line and up to 0.5 inch below the bust line. So I'm just going to connect the 3 points together using the help of my curved ruler. If you want the corset to have a yoke, you can go ahead and add 0.5 inch allowance to join the front and back yokes. So at the base of the blouse, I'm just going to add 0.5 inch for stitching allowance. And now I'll cut it out. Please watch carefully how I cut this. I'm just going to extend the dart line downwards so you can know exactly how to cut yours. The method I'll be using to cut this is that I'm going to cut this pattern out as a bustier first. I'm not going to be severing the funnel part of the corset from the upper part of the bustier because I'm going to cut it out in a different kind of way, which I'll show you subsequently. Before we cut out the funnel looking neckline, we are going to cut out the bustier. So I'm going to bring a pattern paper and place it underneath the pattern. I will just fold the pattern first because we are going to be cutting the center front. Okay, so I'm going to fold the pattern and then I'm going to place the center front on the folded edge, and then I'll be aligning the under bust area to the bottom of the pattern. So once that is done, I will then cut it out. Now when I was cutting the top part of the sweetheart neckline, I added 0.5 inch stitching allowance. Now you can see the way the center front of the bustier looks like. So for the side front, I placed my pattern on top of my pattern paper, and I'm just going to align the under bust area to the hem of the pattern paper. So right now I want to determine where the bustier is going to stop at the sides because it's not going to go all the way down. So from the peak of the side of the bustier, I'm just going to use my marker to mark down to where I want the side of the bustier to stop. And once that is done, I can now begin cutting out my pattern. So remember to also add 0.5 inch stitching allowance to the top of the bustier. As it is, we're going to carve out the area we mark to the hem of the bustier. I would be making notations to this pattern because it can be quite confusing if you don't make notations. So make notations so you don't jumble all the pieces up. And then I'll be cutting through the line. Now that we've successfully cut out the bustier, then we can now go ahead and cut out the funnel looking neckline. And this is how the bustier is going to look inside the funnel looking neckline. In summary, this is how the front pattern looks like. Ensure you put notations and markings to this pattern so you don't jumble them up. This right here is my starting line. So from the starting line, I went down to rule a line at my chest line, which is at 9 inches. I also went down and ruled a line at my bust line at 11 inches, and from the starting line I also went down to rule a line at my waistline at 14 inches, and finally I went down to rule the hem of the blouse at 21 inches, and the tiny line you see underneath is just my allowance. Okay, I want to create my neckline. So the neck width for the back neckline is 3 inches while the neck depth is 2 inches. And I would use my curve ruler to connect both points. Still on the shoulder line, I will be going out by 7 inches to mark my shoulder span, which is 14 inches because we are assuming this pattern is on fold. I'm going to be measuring that same 7 inches on the chest line because I want to be exact, and from the 7 inches we marked at the shoulder line, I am going to be ruling a straight line down to the point we marked on the chest line. At the chest line, I'm going to be measuring my bust circumference divided by 4, which I will mark. And so I'll be connecting the vertical line to the point we marked on the chest line. At the chest line, I'm going to be marking my bust span measurement divided by 2, which is 4.5. At the waistline, I'm also going to mark that same 4.5. And at the hemline, I'm also going to mark that same 4.5 inches. At the point we marked at the waistline, I'm going to be coming down by 5 inches, and I would also be coming down by 1 inch from the chest line, and then I'll be connecting the point at the chest line to this 5 inches we just marked. And on the waistline, I'm going to be coming out by 0.5 inch on both sides of the dart line, and I'll be connecting each of those points to the peak and bottom of the dart line. Lest I forget, I'm going to be taking my shoulder slope. So from the shoulder line, I'm going to be coming down on the vertical line by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect that to the neckline. Now is the time to take our circumferential body measurement. So at the chest line, I'm going to divide my bust circumference by 4. I'll mark that there, and I'm going to be adding 2 inches allowance to that. At the waistline, I'm going to be dividing my waist circumference divided by 4. I'm going to mark that there. Then this 1 inch that we have here, I'm going to replace that by adding 1 inch, and then I'm going to add my 2 inches allowance. Now at the hem of the blouse, I'm going to divide my hip circumference by 4, and I'm going to be adding 2 inches allowance to that. And now I will be connecting all the points together. And now I'll be going up by 1.5 inches from the hemline in order to give that sharp angle a curve. I will just be using my curved ruler to blend that in. And I'll just be applying that same 0.5 inch sewing allowance to the curved part of the hemline. Not like I'll be using the yoke area of this pattern, but if you're particular about using the yoke area of the pattern, you can go ahead and add 0.5 inch sewing allowance to the shoulders. We are also going to be snatching the waist of the back pattern, but this time around we are not going to be slanting this line at all. So I want the snatching to run from the armhole line up to the hemline. Okay, so I'm just going to be elongating that armhole line to the hemline. At the waistline, we're going to be taking 0.25 inch on either side of this line that we just ruled. Now do not make the mistake to believe that 0.25 inch is too small to snatch the waist. What this 0.25 inch on either side of this line means is that we are already taking 1 inch away from the back waistline, because this is on fold. When combined with the one we snatched at the front, that is about 2 inches we have taken, and that would just be ideal because you do not want this corset blouse to be too tight and uncomfortable for you. So 2 inches is enough for me to snatch my waist. Now I'm just going to be connecting that 0.25 inch that we placed on either side of the line to the top of the chest line and to the hemline. You determine if you want to retain the chest line as the new neckline of the corset, or if you want to give this a different type of neckline, but I want to retain this chest line as my neckline. If I were to be interested in using the yoke area, I would just go ahead and mark 1.5 inch on the chest line, and from that 1.5 inches I'm going to later be connecting it to the neckline at the top. But for now, I would be marking 1.5 inch at the hemline as well. And so I will connect the neckline to the chest line and the chest line to the hemline. And this area here will be cut out because we're going to be using loops for this corset. I would be elongating the dart line to the chest and the hemline in order to define the segmented parts of the corset pattern. And now we can begin cutting out the entire pattern. Carefully watch how I cut this. This is how the back pattern looks like. Ensure you make notations to this pattern so you don't jumble them up later in the future. And so guys, we've come to the end of the drafting part of this funnel corset. In the next video, I'll be showing you the sewing process. So if you found this video impactful, please give it a like. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, do also subscribe to the channel so you wouldn't miss out on future tutorials. And feel free to share the video to whoever may need it within your community. Also feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Till I see you in the next video. Bye for now.